For a lot of us physicians, urologists, we often feel like we work in silos. And for those of you who work in compliance, office managers, administrators, you're wondering how your physicians doing relative to everyone else when it comes to evaluation and management, new patient versus established patient volume. Where this matters is for some of you, these data are used to compare your physician's productivity or performance relative to their peers across the country. This past weekend, PRS Network and I worked together and we helped put out urologist coding workshop. I did this with Mark Painter and Scott Painter. It was a phenomenal success. So it just amazes me how many people on a Saturday, how many urology folks on a Saturday showed up for it ended up being a 5.5 hour virtual presentation. Amazing interactions. It's amazing how many stayed till the end. Like 100% of you stayed till the very end, and we ran over by a half an hour. But within that workshop for urologists to bone up on coding and billing, Mark Painter presented a particular slide, which I thought was very interesting, and I think will be very informational for a lot of you who work in urology, who work in administration, to look at physician productivity data relative to evaluation and management. Evaluation management is it's been estimated to be about 33% of a urologist's revenue and comprises of about 50+% of a urologist's evaluation. Evaluation management is about 50+% of the work RVU by the urologist. So anyway, that's the the info dive that Mark Painter looked up through this service called IntrinsiQ, INTRINSIQ. IntrinsiQ teamed up with LUGPA, Large Urology Group Professional Association, and they look at these data so that they can compare their members' productivity compared to CMS and IntrinsiQ. IntrinsiQ, this data set is close to right around 900 urologists. So these are urologists in the IntrinsiQ database compared to Medicare, the most current Medicare information when it comes to evaluation and management, new patient versus established patients. So I'm going to go over these data and this graph and some information, something for you to look at, and let's get right into it. All right. So if you look on the left-hand side is the raw numbers, and on the right-hand side, I've plotted off comparative graphs, bar graphs. And if you look at the blue line or the blue bar, that's the info dive from IntrinsiQ, the 900 plus urologist data. And the orange bar is our data from CMS. The left-hand side of the graph is our evaluation and management for new patients, 99202 through 205. That's on the left side. And then on the right side are bar graphs for 99211 established patients through 99215 established patients. So let's look at the left-hand side. When it comes to new patients, looking at level 2 through level 5, InfoDive versus CMS. Keep in mind, InfoDive is blue, CMS is orange. You look at 99203. You see on InfoDive, fewer urologists percentage-wise bill the 99 or lower percentage of 99203s are billed by urologists in the IntrinsiQ database versus the CMS reported database. However, 99204, more of the 99204 are billed as reported by the InfoDive/IntrinsiQ compared to CMS, Medicare. And as expected, Level 5 new patients are far few, very, very rare. According to InfoDive, it's only 2.8%, and then CMS 5.1%. And I will tell you, for those of you who know, who are very well aware of the 2021 evaluation and management guidelines, for the typical urologist, it is almost nearly impossible or very, very infrequent that you'll have a 99205 type of a visit. Literally, the patient is looking like they're crumping in front of you. And then you transfer the patient, you coordinate care, or you have a lot of data which get you to a level 5 visit that qualifies you for a level 5 visit. For most urologists, we're just seeing patients who are relatively healthy. They're not crumping in front of you. These are very rare events when it comes to new patients coming to see you. I guess if you work in trauma, that's maybe a more frequent occurrence, but for most urologists, a level 5 visit, new patient evaluation management is rare. And that is reflected in the InfoDive data and the CMS data. Only 2.8% for InfoDive and 5.1% for CMS. So and interestingly, the other observation for everyone to note is that most of the evaluation and management codes are in the 99204, level 4, moderate complexity type visits. And that is typical because patients are usually coming in with a problem that is for urology, enlarged prostates, incontinence, overactive bladder. These are usually chronic problems. And when it comes to chronic problems, you're already at a level 3. And if it's a chronic that it's not a treatment goal or chronic with exacerbation, then you are already up at a level 4 problem, not visit, but problem. Depending on your workup, depending on the amount of data that the patient is coming in with, I can see how it is very easy to reach a level 4 new patient. Of course, there's medical necessity, which is the number one thing that you need to have before you even think about an evaluation and management code. And then those of you who are well-versed, you've got the 99202, 3, 4, 5, and you pick the code that is medically necessary and most appropriate. And if you understand the coding and billing rules starting in 2021, it's actually much easier to reach a 3, 4, very, very common relative to urology. But you have to have medical necessity. You have to understand problem, data, and risk. And very importantly, you have to document your thought process to justify, to audit proof your evaluation and management coding. Okay? Evaluation and management is an easy pickings target for Office of Inspector General, OIG, to go after you. And there are a lot of different ways to make sure that you are coding correctly. And we went through a lot of the techniques to make sure you are maximally efficient with your documentation and applying the correct coding when it comes to evaluation management at the Saturday coding workshop. And for those of you who are interested in learning more, there's also the Urology Advanced Coding and Reimbursement Seminar coming up in December in Las Vegas and also in New Orleans in January of 2023. Where if you think you drank from a fire hose this past Saturday, and I want to thank those of you who attended, great participation. If you're thinking you're drinking from a fire hose on Saturday, the Urology Advanced Coding and Reimbursement Seminar is that times 2. So it's 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. So you're not really missing a lot of productivity in your clinic. And I guarantee that you'll learn something you can take away from something where you'll realize that, oh my gosh, I'm leaving money on the table, literally leaving money on the table. So don't do that. Okay. All right. Consider attending the course. You will get a lot more than the price of admission. I've said this many times before. The information, these coding rules, the evaluation and management coding rules, the last time they were changed they were established in 1995 updated in 1997, and then that was it until 2021. Did it undergo a major revision? So just think, 1997 through 2021, over 20 some odd years, like 25 years if you want to start from 1995. No change until 2021. So for most of you who are watching this, who are qualified health professionals who bill E&M services, these rules will stay with you until the end of your practicing careers. So it would behoove you to fully understand and leverage that understanding, leverage the knowledge so that you are billing correctly, ethically, and efficiently. So you're not leaving money on the table. One of the analogies that I made this past weekend was that for some of you, we're all running on a hamster wheel. And some of us are running on a hamster wheel with grease under our feet. So you're not making efficient use of your time. When you're seeing patients, you're not capturing the revenue that you deserve. If you did the work, you want to make sure that you're paid appropriately. For some of us, that is not happening. Then there are those of us who run on a hamster wheel with sticky feet, that every step that we take, we're turning the hamster wheel round and around much more efficiently without any slippage. So be that person. Don't be the one who runs on a hamster wheel with Vaseline with grease. Okay, let's get back to this table. All right. Let's go back to this table. Let's look at the established patients, 99211 through 99215 on the right-hand side of the graph. You will notice that, level 3 and level 4 are high between InfoDive and CMS, but they're kind of flipped. For InfoDive, level 3 established patients relative to CMS, InfoDive is lower than CMS data. Whereas for a level 4 established patient, InfoDive urologists are reporting more of that relative to CMS information. And again, 99215, level 5 established patient is rare, and 99212 and 211 being a nurse visit, 212 is also a rare occurrence. You do see some of that, and I'm seeing a lot more of that in 2021 and beyond relative to prior to 2021 E&M rules. So it's interesting that you'll see similar peaks. Now, if you look at the new patients versus the established patients, the bar graphs between CMS and InfoDive are relatively close. So that concordance is something to take note of among the urologists in these two data sets. And so my question to my fellow urologists and my audience is that, what do your curves look like? And some of you may think, who cares? Who cares what my curves look like? Well, believe it or not, people who audit your charts, the government who looks at these data, they are looking at normative data like these on these graphs and comparing you with these people. On one hand, it's an easy way to pick out outliers. On the other hand, if you know the coding rules, by all means, bill correctly. I would ignore these data. If you have a patient population that makes you an outlier, then by all means, bill correctly. Do not think that this is the way to build. You should follow the curve. You should follow what is right, what is correct, and not try to fit your practice or billing patterns relative to these data, the curves, the bars, the distribution. You should bill correctly. You should do you. Bottom line is you should do you. It doesn't matter what the data show. You need to do what is correct. And how do you know what is correct? It is up to you. You have to get the training. You have to get the education. And a lot of you may be thinking, my biller or the hospital is billing for me. They look after that. Well, guess what? when they submit that CMS, Center for Medicaid Services, CMS or Medicare 1500 form, the billing form, electronic or paper, well, hopefully you're billing electronically now. When they submit that form, it is your MPI, you, the qualified health professional, your national provider ID number. And guess what? You are ultimately responsible for the accuracy, the correctness of the codes that you submit. It doesn't matter who the coder is, unless they're changing codes without your knowledge, then he or she may be culpable. But if you are the QHP, if you are making the money, if you're putting the numbers, the 212, 213, 214, if you're the one billing and your MPI is on that form, then guess what? If there's something wrong, you're the one responsible. It doesn't matter who actually does the billing. So it is imperative that you fully understand the rules and leverage the rules to your advantage. Do it right for sure, but leverage it to your advantage. I think of these codes and these rules as nothing different than the tax code. There are those who understand the rules and will use the rules to your advantage, correctly, ethically, efficiently. And there's nothing wrong with that because these are the rules that are given to us, just like the tax code. All right. As usual, for those of you with any questions or comments, please leave them below. This is being streamed on YouTube as well. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you want to learn more about Modifier 25, click on this link over here. If you want 30 ways to make your increase revenue for your practice, click on this link over here. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate the privilege of your time. Take care of yourself, and let's take care of each other. Bye-bye.